Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that dominates in today's edition for Tuesday, 22nd April 2025, and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. Major double-digit reduction in major crime in Jamaica. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's a service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Welcome back. Acting Deputy Commissioner in charge of Strategic Operations in Jamaica, Gary Mackenzie, reports a nearly 37% drop in murders and an 87% reduction in major crimes, along with declines in road fatalities. He made these remarks in Ferry, St. Catherine, while speaking with Prime Minister Andrew Holness. Mackenzie also outlined plans to further reduce highway deaths. This CVM News item provides details.
With a near 37% decline in murders and notable reductions in major crimes, the Prime Minister's concern for the safety of the Jamaican people also stretched to the nation's roads. During a recent talk with the Acting Deputy Commissioner in charge of Strategic Operations, Gary Mackenzie, he reassured Prime Minister Andrew Holness that road fatalities have not left their dashboard of priorities.
We have an 18% overall drop in major crimes. We are also doing pretty well with road safety. We have a 21% reduction in fatalities. And so we continue to monitor all around.
The Prime Minister remained eager to know what steps will be taken to tackle multi-vehicle and multi-fatality road incidents.
You have had several multiple casualty accidents happening, particularly on the highway. What are the measures you're going to put in place to address these?
Well, one of the things that we have done is to look at the timings. We have observed, unfortunately, that it is at the times when there's very little traffic on the road, in the early mornings between 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. in the mornings. What we are doing is to task our highway patrols to monitor those areas very closely. And I believe that is one of the things.
The head of the Constabulary's Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement Branch, PSTEB, Mackenzie, notes the deployment of technology and devices as part of the strategy in reducing driving hazards and crashes.
Maybe that you're coming in from parties or...
That is so, sir. So we actually twin our speed enforcement with our breathalyzer checks.
Yes.
And we have been doing much better with that. This year, in fact, we have started to measure the numbers. So previously, we had instruments that we were not able to measure that there was alcohol, only those that exceeded. But we have started this year to get data, which, as we speak, 66 persons were measured with having alcohol, albeit only 11 of them is over the threshold.
Okay.
We may have to look at the
threshold. We're discussing this. In fact, tomorrow I'm meeting with the Road Safety Council, and that is something that we will probably look at again.
The Prime Minister again lauded the police on their efforts in crime fighting and public safety.
I want to congratulate you.
Thank you very much, sir.
And the police force in general. A 36.9%
drop in murders
is amazing.
It is, sir.
Amazing.
We continue to
Very
work.
good.
The Electoral Commission of Jamaica is preparing for the mapping of new constituency boundaries for St. Catherine. More in this TVJ News item with Amoy Harriet.
This was revealed at today's Constituency Boundary Committee of Parliament. Director of Elections Glasspool Brown provided the update. The Director of Elections, Glassful Brown, informed the committee that the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, ECJ, has written to the Ministry of Local Government and is awaiting the gazetting of the new boundary description for St. Catherine.
As you would appreciate, that Portmore was a part of the whole St. Catherine, so therefore there's a new boundary description for the new St. Catherine, and that would have to be gazetted.
In the interim, he explained the field work for the new boundary will begin.
The fieldwork involves two primary objectives. First, we must investigate in the field the new St. Catherine and Portmore parish boundary. To achieve this accurately, our team will be physically walking the boundaries, accompanied by guides and key stakeholders. And secondly, it is critical that when we do that work, we capture the GPS coordinates for the new polling division boundaries within the parishes of St. Catherine and Portmore.
To establish the new boundaries, he further explained, will require some changes.
These changes encompass splits and mergers for existing polling division. It also will require the renumbering and potential renaming of St. Catherine constituencies affected by the alignment. It also will require the renumbering of associated St. Catherine electoral division, followed by the renumbering of polling divisions within those affected constituencies. And it has to be agreed upon the official naming and numbering of the three designated Portmore constituencies. That will be critical in terms of naming those new three constituencies that should remain in Portmore.
According to Mr. Brown, the major political parties will also be asked to submit written proposals for the naming and numbering of the three designated Portmore constituencies. Additionally, a parish boundary forum has been established as an interface between the ECJ and the Standing Committee of Parliament. Now, the ECJ is to return to the committee on May 31. Amoy Harriet, TVJ News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick, in association with our friends at
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
In other news, the Supreme Court of the United States paused the Trump administration's plan to deport Venezuelan men in custody, ensuring they receive judicial review. The case could test the balance of power and spark a constitutional showdown. Reuters News reports.
The U.S. Supreme Court early on Saturday paused President Donald Trump's administration from deporting Venezuelan men in immigration custody, after their lawyers said they were at imminent risk of removal without the judicial review the court had insisted on. Lawyers for the American Civil Liberties Union filed urgent requests on Friday in multiple courts, including the Supreme Court, urging immediate action. They said some of the men had already been loaded onto buses and were told they were to be deported. The latest escalation is centered on dozens of Venezuelans held at the Blue Bonnet detention facility in Anson, Texas. The ACLU said the rapid developments meant the administration was poised to deport the men, using a 1798 law historically used only in wartime. It would not have given them a realistic opportunity to contest their removal, as the Supreme Court had required. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the Supreme Court decision. Conservative Justices Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito publicly dissented from the decision.
That criminals, fraudsters, and illegal aliens.
The case raises questions about the Trump administration's adherence to limits set by the Supreme Court, and it could herald a significant clash between the two co-equal branches of government, potentially even a full-blown constitutional crisis. Trump was elected on a promise to crack down on migrants. He has invoked the 1798 Alien Enemies Act in an attempt to swiftly deport accused members of the Tren de Aragua, a criminal gang originating from Venezuelan prisons, which his administration labels a terrorist group. The president and his senior aides have asserted their executive power grants them wide authority on immigration matters, testing the balance of power between branches of government. At issue is whether the Trump administration has met the Supreme Court standard for allowing due process before sending the detainees to another country, possibly to the notorious prison in El Salvador where others are jailed. It was unclear on Friday how many people were potentially to be deported and where they might be taken.
Guyana's Ministry of Foreign Affairs rejects China's suggestion of friendly consultation and negotiations with Venezuela. Dacia Richards of HGP Nightly News reports.
They can solve the border issue through friendly consultation and negotiations.
That was China's deputy of mission on Wednesday at a press conference when asked about the recent incursion by the Venezuelan Coast Guard ship into Guyana's waters. In response to the statement, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation rejected the views emanating from the Chinese embassy. They reminded the government of the People's Republic of China about the Guyana government's position on the matter that is currently pending before the International Court of Justice, a decision made by the United Nations Secretary General to settle the matter. They further noted the Argyle Declaration of December 2023, quote, Guyana's assertion that is committed to the process and procedures of the International Court of Justice for the resolution of the border controversy, unquote, adding that Guyana will not undermine the authority of the court and will not engage in discussion since it has been brought before the court. The ministry highlighted that the government of the People's Republic of China have not commented on the plans made by Venezuela on the elections they intend to conduct on the 25th of May 2025 for a governor and legislative council of the Guayana Essequibo state, a name given to Guyana's Essequibo region, and that is a threat to the country's territorial integrity. The ministry continued by highlighting that the principles of international law and of mutual respect will guide the actions and interactions of Guyana with member states and the international community. For AGP Nightly News, I am Dacia Richards.
Crucial issues are expected to be discussed on May 6th when Prime Minister Gaston Brown of Antigua and leaders of 6 other CARICOM countries meet with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio in Washington, D.C. Antigua and Barbuda's ambassador to the U.S., Ronald Sanders, says the issue which will be raised includes citizenship by investment programs operated by Antigua and Barbuda and 4 others in the sub-region. So Ronald writes, with respect to the CBI programs operated by 5 Eastern Caribbean states, leaders will remind Secretary Rubio that these initiatives are essential to their economic viability. Moreover, Caribbean CBI programs are already closed to nationals from countries that raise red flags for U.S. authorities. And critically, citizenship in these states does not confer automatic access to the U.S. Every individual, regardless of how or where they obtained their Caribbean passports, remains fully subject to U.S. visa and Homeland Security vetting. The CBI framework, then, is not a backdoor to U.S. soil, but a legitimate instrument of economic survival with strong safeguards in place. ABS News will have more insights from Sir Ronald as preparations intensify for the May 6th talks.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean.
In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.